Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. Want to apologize for the delay in a little bit of the videos here. I was attending a friend's wedding, just wasn't able to get videos out there. But we're gonna get back. We'll get you all the videos you were looking for this week outside of the waiver wire video. We're gonna get started here with starts and sits. So this video will be going out Thursday morning. I'm recording this Wednesday night, so we've got all the practice reports up through Wednesday. I'm gonna go game by game, just sort of go into every single fantasy relevant player and which guys I think you should be looking to start or sit in your lineups. As always, if you guys do have any specific start sit questions for me, let me know in the comments below. I will certainly respond to you guys and do what I can to help get your lineup set because we're over halfway through the season here. We have 6 weeks left in the regular season for fantasy. That means that every single game matters that much more. We want to make sure that we get ourselves situated to win as many games as possible down the stretch here and get ourselves into the playoffs. So should be a lot of fun. I think we've got a lot of really good games this week. Hopefully a lot more competitive games than we got last week, and should be a good one. So let's get into it, guys. We're going to start things off with the Ravens at the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Welcome back, Lamar Jackson. Super excited to have him back in our lineups and just on the football field. It's obviously just a better NFL when he's playing. As far as the Ravens go, it's going to be pretty easy. Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers are all going to be must starts pretty much every single week, but especially in this game environment. This is a game that really does profile to be really high scoring, and I think we're going to get a lot of production. Sometimes Thursday night games can be a bit of a letdown, but I don't think it's going to happen. The Ravens are in playoff mode basically the whole rest of the season, so they've got to bring all their energy into every single game. I think we're going to see a really good Ravens team the entire rest of the way. As far as Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely go, I feel pretty decent about Andrews here. Obviously you're going to need a touchdown for him to pan out, but I think if you need to stream a tight end, there's a lot of leagues where Mark Andrews is just floating around on waivers. I think you could do a lot worse than that. Keep an eye on Isaiah Likely too. We haven't seen him and Lamar on the field together so far this season, so it's possible that Likely did level up, and we just haven't seen it yet because Lamar hasn't been on the field. So just keep an eye on that. If you have an extra spot on your roster and you want to stash Likely, you could, but there's no way I would play him in this matchup. For the Dolphins, Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane are going to be must starts every single week. Honestly, Waddle's probably like a fringe top 12 wide receiver the rest of the season, like low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. Feel really good about him the entire rest of the way. And then Achane hasn't finished worse than the running back 17 on any given week. So every single week Achane's been in your lineup. He's just been phenomenal so far this season. Other than that, though, I don't really want to play any other Dolphins. Malik Washington, if you're really desperate, like a deeper league format, you could go there. But he just hasn't really done a whole lot with the opportunities being given to him. He is really fast. He's always a threat to potentially break one, but I wouldn't necessarily want to bet on that. And then if you had to, you could maybe stream Tua, but I just think that in general there are better options there. The matchup's good, but the Ravens are one of those teams I think we might look back on in a few weeks and think that their defense is a little bit better than what it's showing up on paper with. They looked pretty solid last week, albeit against the Bears. They're healthier. They're not going to be at full strength like you would have wanted them to be at the start of the season, but the Ravens have enough pieces to be good on defense, and if that happens, obviously it's not what you want. You look at you're going to see a lot of green if you've got players in your lineup right now going up against the Ravens. It's possible that might be a little bit overhyped. So I don't want to go to it, but on paper, it's not the worst option if you have to do it. Next, we've got the 49ers at the Giants. Low-key, again, the Giants could win here. I know the Giants are super banged up. So are the Niners. This is a game in New York. The Niners didn't look competitive at all last week, so this could be a more competitive game than I think people expect it to be. For the Niners, Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle, they're going to be must-starts every single week. I know Kittle hasn't necessarily come out with a big game just yet. Did score a touchdown last week. I think, he's just, with the state of the tight end position, as always, I feel good about starting George Kittle whenever he's healthy. So you're playing him. I do think we're going to get Brock Purdy back for this game. I don't want to play Brock Purdy here, but it does make Juwan Jennings an interesting flex option. I don't think we're going to get Pearsall back. Again, I only have practice reports through Wednesday, so tough to make a definitive call on that, but I do think that we probably get Brock Purdy here, and he does seem to really have a lot of chemistry with Jennings, and this matchup doesn't scare me. So if you've got a flex Juwan Jennings, I think you can do that. For the Giants, Jackson Dart, decent streaming option every single week. I don't know who's going to catch passes really for New York, but Dart's going to run enough. He's playing well enough. If you have to stream him, you could certainly do worse. I'd play him over Tua. I'd play him over Purdy. I think Dart is a pretty solid streaming option whenever you need him really going forward. Tyrone Tracy, going to be a solid, lower tier running back 2 the entire rest of the season, to be honest. Just the volume's going to be there. He's not a bad player. I know Scatterbo really took over the backfield, but that's just because Scatterbo is so good. It's not because Tracy's not a good player. We saw last year, he's going to get most of the work here over Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary is just a year older, so honestly that split should be even more skewed towards Tyrone Tracy here. I feel good about playing Tracy if you need him as a running back 2. Probably spend up on Fab to get him, so it makes sense that he's going to be in your lineups. Then I don't want to play a Giants pass catcher really. If you have to, Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton are both like lower tier flex options. I'd play Jawan Jennings over both of them. Slayton obviously could have had a much bigger game last week if they just don't call that offensive pass interference. I think he's actually a decent option. Like if you're an underdog and you're really desperate and need to go pick someone up off waivers, I think Slayton's got upside to potentially have a big game. He could do that any given week, but it's also very possible Slayton could go out there and goose for you. So that's not great. Wan'Dale probably going to catch 5 passes for 40 yards. You could use either one of those guys. Neither one gets me excited, but they're both viable streaming / flex options if you have to go there. Next, we've got the Chargers at the Titans. We're going to start all the Chargers in this one. It doesn't like some of them are probably not going to pan out, but like this is a great matchup here against Tennessee. They're not a team that scares you. I would get it if you really felt like you needed to bench Quentin Johnston. You just didn't want to eat a 0 again. But I think, generally speaking, there's just so many mouths to feed in this Chargers offense that between Gadsden, the 3 wide receivers, and then Vidal really coming out, like one or two of those guys is just probably not going to come through with a big game on any given week. But there's so much production in this offense in general that I still feel like I want to play those guys and just going to have to ride the wave. So I'd be playing all of them. I can't honestly give you a strong ranking of how I would rank the wide receivers here. If I had to, I'd probably rank them Ladd, Keenan, Quentin Johnston, but like that can change any given week, so I don't want to overreact. It does seem a little bit like Gadsden's sort of hurting Quentin Johnston a little bit more than anybody else, so I don't think it's great there, but again, I think you can play him if you have to. Gadsden, I'd go right back there. He just looks so good. Like if you have Gadsden, it'd be really hard for me to get him on my bench. I do have a league where I had McBride, picked up Gadsden last week as a streaming option. Kind of a luxury situation. If you're in that, I guess you could bench Gadsden, but at that point, go look to make a trade. So just start all the Chargers, start Herbert. The only concern is that maybe we get into the second half of this game, the Chargers are up like 28, and then they just lean on the run. But if that happens, that means they scored a lot of points in the first half. You'll probably be okay there. For the Titans, not really anybody that gets me excited. I think Spears is the running back I would play if I had to. He just looks more explosive. The guy they're using in pass catching as the pass catcher, I think it's also possible that they're maybe looking to trade Tony Pollard. So that could be why we've seen his usage dialed back a little bit, trying to keep him healthy. Honestly, Pollard to the Chiefs is something that would be really fun. So we'll see what happens there, but I think you can play Spears. Spears needs to be rostered in all leagues just because if Pollard did get traded, I think Spears would actually be really good for fantasy. So just keep an eye on him. I was really high on him this offseason because I think he fits that like flex with benefits mold, and even though this Titans offense is horrendous, pass catching running backs on teams that are in negative game scripts, they'll just rack up receptions. So I feel okay about that. Don't want to play either one of them, but if you had to, they're both viable, like low-end desperation running back twos. If I had to play a wide receiver for the Titans, it would be Chimere DK. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. He just looks pretty decent. He's a really explosive player, a guy that can stretch the field. They don't really have that right now. And then if you happen to be in a league that rewards return yardage, he's actually really awesome. He leads the NFL in all-purpose yards so far, believe it or not. I'm in a league, you get a point for every 25 return yards. Makes him pretty viable, actually, in that kind of format. So if you have to go there, I think DK is certainly an option, but it's a lower tier play. I wouldn't want to play him. It's just like he's right in line with those guys like Wan'Dale and Slayton, like a guy you can play, but you're certainly not excited putting him in your lineup. Next, we've got the Vikings at the Lions. For the Vikings, hopefully JJ McCarthy comes out and shows us something here. We really want to see this Vikings offense be good, and we know that with Kevin O'Connell, it really should be in those weapons, but we just need McCarthy to not suck, basically, because Wentz did suck, and even still his offense was somewhat respectable. So it's really a lot of up in the air stuff here. I think even with that, you're still obviously playing Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Believe it or not, Addison's been better than Jefferson so far this season. You don't love that, but like you're not going to go away from Jefferson. The schedule the rest of the season, too, is phenomenal for the Vikings. So you're just going to play those guys. Hopefully things get better for Jefferson going forward. I wouldn't play any other Viking, though. I think if you have to play a running back, it's probably Aaron Jones, just because you got the pass-catching work, maybe a little bit more explosive. I do think Mason's the guy that gets the ball if they get to the goal line, but I just don't necessarily want to play either one of them. The Lions are a really great run defense. Just, it does not get me excited. So I'd prefer to play Addison and Jefferson and then nobody else for the Vikings. For the Lions, Amon-Ra, Gibbs, and Monty all feel like must-starts. Monty doesn't really make the must-start category, but in this matchup, we've seen the Vikings sort of get carved up on the ground the last several weeks. Vidal just ran all over them last week. I feel pretty good about it. I would have a hard time benching Monty in this matchup. Sam Laporta, probably a must-start as well. Like, it's just tough. Like, he's obviously a top 10 tight end every single week, unless you happen. Like, if you got Laporta and Gadsden, that's a tougher call. I'd probably play Gadsden there, but like that'd be the situation where you're maybe benching him. But again, if you're in that spot, just go trade one of those guys, get somebody else. So you don't need to have two good tight ends, generally speaking. Then Jameson Williams and Jared Goff. I prefer to sit them if I can. This doesn't really scream like it's going to be a good matchup here for Jared Goff. I think it'll be a game they win relatively easily. It is at home, so that's helpful for Goff there, but I don't really want to go there. And then Jameson, he's a flex play. If you're picking between him and Slayton, like it's the same thing, right? You're praying that he catches a deep ball. He certainly could, but honestly, Slayton's probably more involved in the offense. I don't love it. I don't want to play Jameson. I have him in one league. I'm not playing him this week if I can avoid it. So he's always an option. He could always go off for 150 and 2, but he could also just give you a goose. And it just depends on where you're at. But I think generally speaking, you could probably do better this week. Next, we got the Falcons at the Patriots. For the Falcons, Bijan auto start every single week. Just throw last week into the garbage. Don't even think about it. You're going to play Bijan. London, you're playing him if he plays. It's a little bit scary. You got a hip pointer injury there, so it's tough to know how healthy he's going to be. If he plays, though, you're obviously playing him. But there's just reasons to be concerned there. He'll probably get shadowed by Christian Gonzalez. He's a legit corner. I think this is an Atlanta team that's just really hard to read. So it's possible that Atlanta just comes out and can't do anything on offense. And if that happens, and you've got London getting shadowed by an elite corner, I could see a world where London goes out there and has a really bad game. But I also just don't know how many rosters are out there that could even consider really benching him. So I think you're playing him, but just understand that I wouldn't expect this to be like a blow-up game for London. Kyle Pitts, decent play at tight end. The matchup's not bad here. Again, I think that Gonzalez sort of takes away the number one wide receiver. There'll probably be some openings there for Pitts. And again, the Patriots are playing so well on offense that I think the Falcons are going to have to score here. So Pitts is a decent tight end option if you want to go there. For the Patriots, Drake May, just start him every single week. He's phenomenal. He's the quarterback 5 on the year. I don't see any reason why it would slow down. He looks so amazing, running the ball plenty. Like Drake May, he's a guy like I have him in a couple of leagues, and I've been sort of treating him like a streaming option. Like I've been playing him, like mixing and matching lineups with him. And at this point, I'm just gonna start him every single week. He's playing so well. I think you have to play him. Diggs, Booty, and Hunter Henry are always options. Neither one of those guys is a must start on any given week. It's really similar to like the Buffalo Bills, where you've got like Shakir, Coleman, Dalton Kincaid. Like those guys, somebody's probably going to have a good game, so you can definitely play any of them if you have to, but none of them are like necessary enough to the offense. Like we saw Mac Hollins have 90 receiving yards last week. Demario Douglas always sprinkles in. There's room for these guys to fail and for this Patriots offense to still be good, but you can play them if you need to. Running back room's the tricky one here. Ramondre missed practice on Wednesday with a toe injury, so really want to keep an eye on that. I think if he doesn't play, you're going to play Henderson. It makes me nervous. They've got Ernest Johnson there. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It's disgusting, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Ramondre missed this game and we got like 15 carries out of Ernest Johnson. So that's incredibly gross. I think I'd have a hard time benching Henderson, like especially just if you're still rostering him. If he finally gets that shot, we saw him be pretty explosive last week. I would want to play Henderson if Ramondre misses, but with the usage we've seen so far, there's no reason to guarantee that workload's going to be there even without Ramondre. So just don't be prepared to be angry Sunday if you play Henderson. But I think if Ramondre misses, I think you can play him. And then if Ramondre plays, I don't really want to play either one of them. Ramondre would probably be the one I would go with, but you got a guy who's already been inefficient, dealing with a toe injury. It's really gross. You'd need to be pretty down bad at running back for me to want to play Ramondre in that case. Next, we've got the Colts at the Steelers. For the Colts, it's easy. You're going to start all of them every single week. So Daniel Jones, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, they're must-starts every single week. And honestly, against the Steelers, it doesn't make me any more scared. The Steelers' defense has been horrendous so far this season. It's the most expensive bad defense I've ever seen. I feel good about playing all 4 of those guys. Steelers blitz a ton, so maybe you get more short yardage stuff if you maybe caters to Tyler Warren a little bit more. But like you're still playing Pittman. They can't stop anybody. You're playing all of those guys. Alec Pierce, maybe the question mark there. If you want to play him, you can. The deep threat is always there. Like he could obviously go out there and catch 3 passes for 100 yards and a touchdown. Just the usage isn't incredibly high. I don't think I want to play Alec Pierce on a week with less buys. Like last week, he was great. He got 6 teams on bye. He's a great fill in there, but he's not a guy I want to be starting on a regular basis. But he's also a guy that you can always play in your flex if you have to. For the Steelers, Jaylen Warren, DK Metcalf, they're going to be in there every single week. DK's usage has been really frustrating. He's actually still the wide receiver 12 on the season in fantasy points per game. I think it's very possible the Steelers get down early. The Colts have just been steamrolling everybody. They're actually a plus matchup for opposing offenses in fantasy just because they have to play fast and play catch up, and it means that they sort of get a lot of garbage time at the end of the game. The Steelers are probably going to have a decent output offensively because they're probably going to give up 35 points and lose by 2 scores. So I think you can play DK and Warren. If you have to stream Aaron Rodgers, you can. I don't want to, but again, it's a plus matchup for quarterbacks so far this season. You could do worse. There's just a couple of notes as well. One, keep an eye on Roman Wilson. So I won't call it a breakout, but last week was like the most involved we've seen him so far in his career. There were a lot of people that really liked him coming into the NFL, sort of lost his rookie season due to injury. They need somebody to step up as a wide receiver too. They don't really run a whole lot of even 2 wide receiver sets. They have 3 tight ends on the field a ton, so I don't necessarily love it, but just keep an eye on it. He's a young player. The offense could certainly use a wide receiver too, so just keep an eye on him. If you're in like a super deep league, he could be somebody worth keeping an eye on. Or if he happens to be on waiver wires in like dynasty leagues, maybe worth a stash there. He's definitely got some upside. Next, we got the Broncos at the Texans. I kind of expect a really gross game here. We've got 2 offenses that have not played really well at any point in the season. I know the Broncos were good on offense last year, but it was against the Cowboys. I don't really count that. Like, Russ had a 450-yard game against the Cowboys. Like, it just seems like in general, everyone can score on the Cowboys this season. I don't want to like hype up an offense because they had a good game against them. That being said, Sutton, he's in every single week. I know it wasn't great the last couple of weeks, but it'd just be really hard to bench him. I think Sutton's the kind of guy that you want to get in your lineup. Both running backs are options. I think it's a little bit trickier this week because we did sort of see a breakout for RJ Harvey. We didn't see it from a usage standpoint, so it's sort of a projection in terms of what we can expect this backfield split to be this week. I think you're still playing Dobbins as a low-end running back too. Like, you're obviously playing him over guys like Ramondre. Yeah, he's decent. He hasn't really found the end zone lately, but he's still running effectively. It's not like he was bad last week either. Like, still was like 7 yards per carry last week. So you can play Dobbins. Just be aware that maybe we see more of a closer to 50-50 split if they want to reward Harvey for the production last week, so it's a little bit tougher. I'd prefer to bench Harvey and play Dobbins if I had to, but again, if you want to take the gamble and say, hey, they're going to give Harvey more work, then you could certainly do that. But again, this matchup's so tough against Houston. They're like the best defense in the league this year. They're kind of making Houston like a sneaky, respectable team, even though their offense has been so bad. So it's a little bit tough. I don't want to play any other Bronco. I don't want to play Bo Nix against this Texans off defense. I'm not going to play Troy Franklin. Keep an eye on Pat Bryant. He's getting more involved. Keep an eye on Evan Ingram as well. They're sort of getting him more involved. But I don't want to play either one of those guys if I can avoid it. For the Texans, Nico is in. Should be back this week. Obviously, he missed last week with the concussion. We haven't officially heard that he's cleared concussion protocol yet. But like, you just don't really see guys miss 2 weeks with a concussion very often. So I'd expect Nico to be back here. And we're likely going to not have Patrick Surtain this game. So with that, the Broncos are still a legit defense. They're going to be good in the secondary, but it does open things up a little bit. You're not going to see Nico getting shadowed there. It makes you feel better about him having a decent performance. But I don't want to play any other Texan. With Nico there, none of the other wide receivers really are interesting. None of the running backs are really interesting either. Like, Woody Marks is probably the more explosive player, but they're still basically doing a 50-50 split here. This is a game between 2 really good defenses. I could easily see this game finishing as like a 20-17 final. With that happening, there's just not a whole lot of fantasy production to go around here. There's nobody that gets me excited. If you had to play Woody or Chubb, they're both available to you, but like, this is not a matchup where I would expect either one of those guys to go out there and be the reason you win your matchup this week. So I'd prefer to look elsewhere, but again, sometimes you're down bad at running back. Those guys are available if you have to. So that'll do it for part 1 of the starts and sits this week. Up next, I'll cover the second half of the games this week. So I covered 7 games today. I'll cover 7 games in the video that goes out tomorrow. So just gives me one more day to get all the practice reports. Again, if you have any specific questions, start-sit questions for me, let me know in the comments below. I really love interacting with you guys there, helping you guys out, getting the lineup set. And then, of course, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. There's 5 videos every single week. Just going to keep pumping it out. I'm going to be here all year long to hopefully help you guys win some leagues together. So if you haven't already, give the video a thumbs up as well if you made it this far. Put a lot of time into all of these, so hopefully you guys find them helpful. And that's the best way you can support me. So I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys with the next one. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.